Learning is important, right?
Yes, exactly. What a bunch of nerds.
Nerd alert.
Right.
Marketing Architects.
Hello, and welcome to the Marketing Architects, a research-first podcast dedicated to answering your toughest marketing questions. I'm Elena Jasper. I'm on the marketing team here at Marketing Architects, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rob DeMars, the Chief Product Architect of Misfits and Machines.
Hello, Elena.
Hello. We are back with your weekly Nerd Alert. Every week, I'll take a deep dive into academic marketing research and translate its complex ideas into simple, understandable language for Rob and, of course, for all of you. Are you ready to nerd out, Rob?
I need my nerd fix, Elena. I'm ready.
All right, well, let's get into it. As always, we'll link the research we cover in the episode notes. This week is a very special edition of Nerd Alert because we are featuring our own Marketing Architects research. This is a report just published yesterday, and it's called TV's Future is Much More Than Connected, a guide to TV advertising's next golden era. We are talking about TV advertising effectiveness research today, our favorite thing. But first, Rob, when do you believe the golden era of TV was?
Well, I'm pretty sure it was a long time ago, but I'm going to push for, and I guess this is still a long time ago, I'm going to personally push for the 1980s. I think that was the golden era. I mean, you had Different Strokes, Love Boat, Fantasy Island. This was good TV watching, Elena, back in the 80s. You missed it. That's when there was no DVR, so you kind of had to like co-view with your family. It was a great time. It was a great time to be watching the boob tube, as they used to call it.
Yeah, my mom definitely used to call it that. So I'm familiar with the boob tube. Yeah, we watched like Leave It to Beaver, Brady Bunch. Like is that sort of the 80s era?
That is not even close.
Oh, whoops.
Elena, that is not even close to the 80s.
No.
I mean, Leave It to Beaver was like the 50s. I'm sorry. It was black and white, Elena. Leave It to Beaver was black and white TV. They didn't. Sorry.
Honestly, if I think of any time before my time, I imagine it in black and white.
Yes.
So.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that even the Brady Bunch, that was more 70s. So yeah, not the 80s.
All right. Well, I'm familiar with even before the 80s.
Have you ever watched The Different Strokes? Have you ever watched Different
No.
Strokes? It's a great show. So good.
Okay. I'm probably not going to watch that, but thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah. What you talking about, Willis?
Oh, that's what that's from.
It is.
I never knew that. What do you know? All right. So this question, of course, there's not necessarily one right answer. This is one of the first things we opened the report with. So to share a little bit of research, according to Britannica, the official golden age of television lasted from 1948 to 1959. This is thanks to the channel becoming the primary mass medium in the US during this period. This era also saw the rise of sitcoms, with shows like I Love Lucy taking over TVs across the country. In 2011, French academic Alex Pichard made waves by declaring that TV only reached its ultimate form in the early 2000s, as hit shows like The Sopranos and Breaking Bad gained popularity. These TV shows were serious, and they secured a serious budget. The 10-episode first season of Game of Thrones, for example, cost between $50 and $60 million, and budgets only grew with the show's notoriety. The 2019 finale spent a whopping $15 million on a single episode. Although we could also argue that TV's golden era is even more recent. Traditional TV viewing saw growth until 2011, and according to eMarketer, linear TV only reached its peak in 2018. Today, Statista reports that there are more TV households in the US than there have ever been before. That would be up to 125 million, up from 116 million in 2015, and just 102 million in 2000. So it might not be too crazy to think that TV's best days are ahead of us. Or maybe we're about to enter another golden era. Time spent with TV across linear and streaming is only growing, and the average American spends just over 5 hours a day consuming TV content. And surprisingly, linear still makes up 56% of that time. And the total number of people watching is also on the rise, with 2024's projected viewership up to 251 million from 247 million in 2022. People still buy based on what they see on TV. 81% of TV viewers say a TV ad has influenced a purchase decision, and 63% report finding new brands and products through TV commercials. But back to our initial question, when we asked marketers about TV's golden era, they split down generational divides. So if you're 35 and older, you were typically citing the 70s or maybe even the 2020s, and then younger marketers were more likely to mention the 2000s. So we got that data from a survey of more than 300 marketers We conducted this in partnership with a market research company called Wiser. These marketers work for companies with $50 million or more in annual revenue across a lot of different industries, and they all have marketing budgets of at least $5 million, and they have some influence over marketing decisions. 57% were the final decision makers in marketing decisions, and 42% are VPs or higher. We also use secondary research from sources like MRI Simmons, Statista, Work, Nielsen, and eMarketer, and results from our own campaigns. And we asked a lot more than just when the golden era of TV was. So I want to talk about some of the other findings. But to tee that up, Rob, let me ask you, what types of TV do you currently watch? And I've asked you to really think about this one. So not just time spent watching in your home, but if you venture outside, what types of TV might you see?
I'm definitely a homebody when it comes to whenever I do consume television, because I'm not a real big sports watcher in restaurants or things like that. So for me, I really spend time on connected TV boxes, watching Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, Apple TV. I mean, I watch it all, an all-you-can-eat buffet of streaming.
Nice. Well, I'd say I'm pretty similar to you, where most of the TV I'm watching is at home, but I think that part of the reason why linear TV still commands more than half of total TV viewing is due to things like seeing TV in a hotel or a bar or a restaurant or a gym, and even things like YouTube TV that contains a lot of linear content just through like a digital pay TV service. So when people get surprised that linear still makes up most of viewing, I think a lot of it is just you're not really thinking about where you're really watching TV. Like you're not just watching
Right.
TV in your home. You're seeing linear TV in other places.
Do people actually watch TV in the hotel room? Like, I don't want to touch the remote. It grosses me out.
Yeah, that might just be you. I definitely don't have a problem with watching TV in a hotel. Well, speaking of watching TV, live TV too is growing. I think maybe for a second we thought, is live TV still going to be a thing with streaming platforms? But 73% of consumers say the ability to watch live TV is very important to them. Only 14% say it's not at all or not very important. But this report wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk about streaming. So, Rob, how many streaming services are you currently subscribed to?
This is a great question. I am not a big Excel document person, but I actually had to create an Excel document because I'm looking to switch providers, and I was trying to figure out where I'm paying for all the different services. I have at least 8 different streaming subscriptions in addition to an Xfinity membership, which then allows me to log into a bunch of other streaming services. So I have a lot.
Yeah, well, okay, I think I beat you. I have 10, and it also took me a while to count them.
Wow.
Yeah, but I don't have an Xfinity anymore. So I use Hulu for my live TV, which is, by the way, more expensive than cable at this point. They're raising it to $90 a month. It's insane. But yeah, I also had to make a spreadsheet of this. I cannot believe how many streaming services I subscribe to, way more than when we just had cable. So obviously, we now live in a world where we have all these different options for how we watch streaming, or some people call it CTV. But I want to talk about some data behind how the general American watches it. Originally, streaming platforms were seen as a lower cost alternative to cable. After all, would you rather pay $15 a month for Netflix or a $100 package, including dozens of channels you don't watch anyways? As a result, streaming became the default for many viewers. Lower income households are especially likely to replace traditional TV with streaming. However, higher income households often use it to complement pre-existing pay TV packages. Nielsen reports that in just 5 years, the number of U.S. households accessing TV content via an internet connection has increased by more than 210%. Today, more than 70% of homes have a smart TV, and 83% of Americans are subscribed to a video streaming service. Time spent with TV is increasingly focused on CTV. In 2024, the 5 hours and 10 minutes an average viewer spends with TV daily is split into 2 hours and 55 minutes of linear, and close behind 2 hours and 15 minutes of streaming. So written closer and closer. And in a generational split, millennials are most likely to say streaming has replaced traditional TV. Older generations often view streaming as more of a complement to linear. And surprising, even Gen Z, they're not as all in on streaming as millennials. So you'd think it might keep going up, but Gen Z, it didn't jump as much as you'd think. All right, so as marketers, Rob and I, and probably most of our audience, think about TV as two separate things, as linear and streaming. But that's not how consumers think about TV. And streaming is starting to look more and more like linear. The streaming industry is leaning into the same trends that have defined cable and broadcast TV for decades. So, first, obviously, advertising. As this industry has evolved, it's become clear that we need ads for a successful streaming business model, and ads are also widely accepted by consumers. This year, only 13% of consumers say they're opposed to ads in streaming. That's down from 36% in 2022. And 70% say watching ads on streaming is just part of a typical viewing experience. Another trend that Rob, you might be reminiscent of, is cable bundling. Netflix and Amazon's Prime Video, they went to the TV upfronts this year, mingling with the biggest traditional TV players like Fox, Disney, and NBC Universal at Radio City Music Hall. There, Comcast announced Stream Saver, a discounted bundle including Peacock, Netflix, and Apple TV+. And this announcement follows news of Disney partnering with Warner Brothers to offer Max, Disney+, and Hulu together. For anyone who had a cable bundle in the 90s or early 2000s, this should sound a little bit familiar. Finally, even the type of content that's being featured by streaming platforms is now taking its cue from linear. Live events and sports viewing are getting more attention, despite streamers' prestige shows being the focus for years. In fact, some of the most watched shows on streaming right now were originally broadcast winners, like Grey's Anatomy, The Office, and Suits. Long-running procedurals and sitcoms are viewed as a possible solution to subscriber churn. The expensive, highly produced shows streamers are known for, with 6 or 8 episodes per season, are often flashy enough to get someone to subscribe, but then what? You binge the show, and then you cancel the subscription at the end of the month. So that's why churn rates have almost tripled since 2019. So streamers are looking for those multi-season, more established shows to drive consistent viewing. Some platforms have also started to release original content in multiple parts over the course of a couple months. Like Netflix did this with Bridgerton to make subscribers stick around longer, which I didn't know this, Rob, but apparently they time those releases. They time it so you couldn't cancel your subscription after you watch all of it. So they release it like right after it would have expired, if that makes sense.
Sneaky, but it totally makes sense.
Isn't that sneaky? So quickly, I want to talk a little bit about the consumer side of things because we had some interesting research on that. Consumers turn on their TV set for entertaining or informative content. They don't really care about how that content is delivered. So a consumer is going to seamlessly switch between traditional broadcast and on-demand streaming, often without giving it a second thought. They don't ask if the show they're watching is shared through a FAST or in which TV category YouTube TV fits. They just enjoy the show. According to MRI Simmons, the top definition for TV, with 47% of consumers agreeing, is anything I can watch on my TV set, whether it's via streaming, cable, satellite, or fiber optic. That beats both linear-based responses like any shows created by a TV network and any shows available via cable, satellite, or fiber optic. And even streaming-based responses like anything I can watch on any device. When breaking down results by income, higher income households are especially likely to think of TV holistically. Households with an income over $123,000 chose to define TV as anything I can watch on my TV set more than any other option. So if consumers aren't making this distinction between linear and streaming, why should advertisers? We believe that they shouldn't. They tend to work better together, and siloing the two leads to worse results. Now, this was meant to be a short show, which it's not now. So I'm not going to go into all the details of how to combine them effectively. You'll have to download the report to find that out, and you can find it right on our website at marketingarchitects.com. But I will say this, if you're a marketer and you're just invested in CTV and not linear, you should really read this report, and hopefully some of the data in this episode was surprising to you. That report's going to help you make the case for an investment in both linear and streaming. And hopefully some of those stats were kind of interesting.
Very interesting.
All right, we got a Rob GPT.
Oh,
Imagine,
good.
yes, here we go. Imagine linear and CTV as two powerhouse athletes in a relay race. One is reliable, steady, and has been on the track for years, while the other is sleek, fast, and relatively new to the game. When they pass the baton and work together, they not only cover more ground, but also outshine any individual sprint, maximizing reach and performance in today's TV advertising marathon. Not a perfect metaphor, but we'll accept it.
It's a pretty good one.
What do you think, Rob? I know you know TV like the back of your hand, but was there anything surprising?
I'm still trying to recover from the fact that you think Leave It to Beaver was in the 1980s. I mean, you're not going to live that one down.
Sorry, Rob. I don't know. The 80s seemed like a while ago to me, but I apologize.
I did have a great idea, though, during this, because ChatGPT just launched their new model with Strawberry, right? So I am going to give it every streaming provider and network that I want to watch, and I'm going to have it tell me how to best bundle it.
That's a
It's
great
It's
idea.
actually what it's built for, is doing advanced reasoning. So it'll go in there and figure it out for me.
That could be a good takeaway from this episode, is maybe everyone should invest in TV as a marketer and check how many streaming platforms you're subscribed to, because ChatGPT could maybe help you optimize that. That's it for this episode of The Marketing Architects. We'd like to thank Taylor De Los Reyes for producing the show. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, and if you like the podcast, please leave us a review. Now go forth and build great marketing.
Marketing Architects.